Hello and welcome to this lesson. My name is Lars Kopf and today we're going to look at injection attacks like SQL, XPath or LDAP injection and associated mitigation strategies. After completing this training, you should be able to explain injection attacks in general and in the Adobe Experience Manager context, and you should be able to explain the AEM mitigation strategies. Injection attacks work by manipulating the input parameters to a command or query from the client to the application. Apart from the XSS attacks we already looked at, there are several other types of injection attacks like SQL and XPath injection, LDAP injection or OS command line injection. These vulnerabilities, especially SQL injection, are currently listed as the most dangerous web application security flaw on the OWASP top 10 list and are responsible for numerous recent high-profile incidents you might have heard of in the media. In the AEM case, however, they are typically not as dangerous for reasons you will see in a minute. The risks of injection attacks include loss or corruption of data, information disclosure, and because, like in the cross-site scripting case, the attack is performed with the privileges of the authenticated user, they also result in a lack of accountability. Under normal circumstances, for example with a traditional database, these attacks can also result in complete system takeover. In AEM, however, SQL and XPath queries are usually performed with the user session, so it is not possible to reveal information to a potential attacker that the requesting session would not have access to anyway. Also, we only support a small subset of those query languages which only allow reading from the repository and do not include the usual insert or delete statements of SQL. Sometimes, however, queries are performed with a privileged service user, which means that an attacker could get access to sensitive information by manipulating the queries. Therefore, you should always use the query builder, either by using the class directly or by calling its REST API, which uses parameterized statements that automatically encode the input and thus mitigate all possibilities of injection. LDAP queries are only performed in the LDAP login module and use parameterized statements. And out of the box, we do not ship operating system scripts that take user-supplied parameters. If you plan to include such scripts in your projects, make sure you properly escape all dangerous characters like pipes or double quotes in the user-supplied input. Now let me give you a quick example of a SQL injection attack on AEM. For this, I prepared a little JSP script that takes user input from a query parameter and then uses this parameter without encoding in an SQL statement. In this case, this would not be dangerous since the query is only performed with the user session, but if this query would be performed with a service user that has access to sensitive information, we would have a real problem, as you can see in a minute. If I access this script with the title parameter set to geometrics, you can see that we get a list of all nodes containing geometrics in the JCR title property. However, by adding single quotes to the query, we can break out of the contain statement and add another OR clause, as you can see here. What we get now is a list of all nodes that have a rep principal name property containing admin. Since we are requesting this node with the admin user, we basically leak the contents of the admin's password hash to the attacker. Of course, it would be possible to fix this by properly escaping all single and double quote characters when building the query string. But as mentioned in the XSS lesson, you should never implement such encoding methods yourself. Especially for XPath queries, this is very difficult to get right. So the right option is to use the query builder for this task. Here is another script that performs the same query, this time using the query builder. We first fill a parameter map with all the desired properties of the query and then build a predicate group from that map. As you can see here, the attack no longer works, because the input string is no longer directly included in the query, but instead passed as a bound parameter and thus automatically encoded. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. You should now be able to explain injection attacks in general and in the Adobe Experience Manager context. And you should be able to explain the Adobe Experience Manager mitigation strategies. Thank you for watching and have a great day.